Adesso noi torniamo veramente fra un secondo, ma qui con me io voglio chiamare la nostra co-conduttrice di questa giornata. Lei l'avete vista prima, è una ragazza veramente incredibile, giovanissima, americana, da Los Angeles. È una futurista, perché così le definiamo. Lei è stata una filmmaker, ha vinto molti premi anche come filmmaker. Allora lasciatemi introdurre con grandissimo piacere Anatola Arba.
Thank you, Veronica. Hello, everybody. My name is Anatola, and let's continue talking about artificial intelligence, shall we? We know that AI is becoming more and more powerful in our world. But how can it help us become better humans? That is what our next guest will explore. Allow me to introduce the Director of Intelligent Systems Research Lab in Intel Labs. Her research is focused on amplifying human potential with AI through responsible human-AI collaboration. In this era of rapid AI advancement, we need to ensure that technology serves to enhance human potential and foster trust rather than undermine it. Let's give a warm welcome to Lama Nachman.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's really wonderful to be here. I absolutely love Bologna, and it's wonderful to be back. So I wanted to start perhaps by talking about the amazing progress that we have seen in AI over the last 15 years, which really was fueled by a few factors that were coming together. The availability of labeled data sets that we started to see at scale, the wonderful exponential compute that we continuously see advancing, the availability of software frameworks that enable people to actually develop AI easily, and then some really amazing innovation on algorithmic side that enabled us to be able to learn from data very effectively. So if you kind of think over the last 15 years, we've really seen, models that were trying to address very specific problems like speech recognition, like object recognition, facial recognition, things like that, that started to even do better than human recognition because of all of these factors that I mentioned. And then we kind of moved from these specific models that targeted specific applications to these large language models. And with those large language models, what we've actually seen is an ability to generalize. So rather than have one specific application, you can build a large language model, and then you can use it for multiple things, right? It could be translation, it could be summarization, it could be question and answer, and things like that. And then kind of the last wave over the last year and a half, what we've really seen is the effect of the democratization of AI. So once you were able to bring these large language models with a natural interface, anyone out there, not just AI developers, can discover new applications, right? Can imagine new use cases and figure out directly what it is that they can or cannot do with AI. So I have to confess, I'm an optimist. So I'll start with that. And I think, honestly, AI will transform every single field. And you've heard earlier about biology. It's really amazing how much we can actually get there. So that optimism is what led me to first my study and then my work in this human AI collaboration. So I lead a lab, which is a multidisciplinary team that brings together anthropology, design, and AI. And we're trying to imagine what can be done with human AI collaborative systems. We go out into the world, into the real environments. We go into manufacturing. We go into people's homes. We go into schools and try to imagine if AI was to come into that physical world in any form, can it actually help people do better, right? So in manufacturing, can it actually watch over people as they do these things and figure out how to assist them because it can see what they're doing and answer questions or flag errors and things like that. So that's all amazing, and I think this is one of the things that I'm really excited about because AI can bring better outcomes. However, I started by saying I'm an optimist. I'm also a realist. And what we're actually seeing also over the last 10 years or so, a lot of concerns and ethical concerns around AI. And actually, just for the heck of it, I decided to ask ChatGPT, what are the ethical risks for AI? And actually, that's what it actually showed. And that's very predictable, right? We see issues with privacy, with security, with misinformation. We're worried about human rights and displacing labor, right? There are all of these concerns that constantly show up. And really, we have started with an Intel to look at that back in 2016 and thinking through how do we develop these responsible AI frameworks that can help us navigate these ethical risks. So that looks like things that we do on the governance side, where we would look at every single project across the company and decide what are the ethical risks and what do we do about it. But it's also a very nascent field. So we've been developing a lot of technologies and methods to try to mitigate some of these risks. And that's what I'll talk about more today, as well as ensuring that there is inclusion in AI. So how do we bring more people who can develop these AI models that look like all of us, not just a small part of us? So a lot of digital readiness programs, AI for youth, that's targeting underrepresented minorities to improve inclusion in AI. So one specific risk that I want to dig a little bit deeper into is actually deepfakes. And the reason I decided to do that is, A, we're at a time where GenAI is enabling deepfakes to really manipulate people, and it's very hard for people to understand whether something is fake or real. And if you start to think about deepfakes and how generative AI is progressing, we started to think about how do we address that risk. So the question that we asked is, if people knew and were aware that there are deepfakes, can they figure it out for themselves? And we actually did a study. We brought people, we showed them all sorts of deepfakes and real videos and asked them to find out the deepfakes. Unfortunately, people's abilities to figure out deepfakes is very limited. We actually saw about 36% ability for people to detect deepfakes. So then we started to think about, what do we do? Like, what other methods can we bring to the table to fix that problem? And that's when we started to think about, can we bring AI to combat AI? So typically what people do is they would look for artifacts that generators of these synthetic content can bring. The problem is that's a constant race and it doesn't really scale. So instead, what we decided to look at is, what is authentically human, right? Can we figure out human markers that are actually natural for humans but not synthetic content? So the way we gaze, the way we speak, the way my voice changes, the way I gaze. And we started actually looking at heart rate and specifically thinking through how can we actually think about heart rate signals. As the heart beats, the blood flow within your veins will actually change the color on your face. And that you cannot see with the human eye, but you can actually see by looking through a camera and bringing in artificial intelligence. So what we decided to really do is take, if you think about how would you do something like that. So we would take the video, we would detect the face through machine learning. We would go and detect the different points on the face so that we can extract a region that can actually have all of the PPG signals, right? we take those PPG signals and then we essentially create these PPG maps that show the change both in time and across the different points on the face. And the idea is, if you take all of these PPG signals from fake videos versus real videos, and you train a machine learning model to discern the differences between these fake and real videos, then you can be able to actually help the human understand where there is a high confidence of fake versus real. And really what we decided to do is bring that intelligence back into the human and have them look at it and be able to understand, is this specific face real or fake? Is there something that's being said within that video that seems unusual, so that you can bring some of the human intelligence along with what the system that's able to look at these tiny signals can actually tell you. And we've shown that with these type of methods, by reading those signals and heart rates, that we're able to actually do better than just simply being able to look for signals of fakery. Now, what's interesting is that if you really want to be ahead of that game, you need to bring in many more signals. So what we've been doing actually is increasing more of these modalities, bringing things like gaze, like audio, and try to make this much more robust. So, it's really quite concerning when we think about how deepfakes can really impact us with this, information and, political misinformation. We heard earlier about how reputational harm is actually done. And all of these things are really quite concerning. But I want to kind of leave you with just this thought. We as human beings are tuned to believe in what we hear and what we see. And when we start to actually doubt everything that we hear and we see, it's really quite problematic, because it's going to get us to a point where we can't even make decisions because of that concern. And this is why I really think that that specific area is one to absolutely watch for and continue to really try to advance with all of that innovation. So with that, thank you very much for listening, and I'm really enjoying my time here.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you. Un grande applauso ancora per la nostra Lana.